welcome back to my channel. My name is Nichelle and I'm an aspiring author. As we've discussed on this channel, I am a book lover of all types. I like to read most genres and I really just enjoy the act of reading. I appreciate the art, so there's not tons of books that I dislike. I also don't have a running list of books that I dislike. I guess I just kind of have thrown them by the wayside, which I think is okay. But this got me thinking, are there any books that I had a really difficult time liking to begin with? I actually got the inspiration from this because I just finished a book that it took me a while to get into, and I just started thinking about all these other books that, oh, you know what? I didn't super love it to begin with, and by the end of the book, I really did like it. So I thought I would go over those books with you guys today because I think that'd be pretty interesting. So we'll just go ahead and get started. The first book that I wanted to go over with you guys today is actually the book I just finished reading that gave me the inspiration for this video, and that would be All the Stars and Teeth by Adalyn Grace. So All the Stars and Teeth is a young adult fantasy, and I really ended up loving it by the end of the book. Now here's my thing. So this book is a dark fantasy. There's a lot of dark moments in it. And I knew that going into it and I was really excited about it. I've been on a pirate craving for some reason the last couple of weeks. So I was really looking forward to this book. But when I first started reading it, the magic our main character Amora has is so dark and I wasn't expecting it. And I think it just threw me off guard. So not to give any spoilers, but her magic involves killing people in a very dark and twisted way. I had a moment where I had to stop. It was at the catalyst moment, and I had to take a break because of how dark and twisted it was, and I was thinking, where is this going? How weird is this book? And I was very baffled by it and had to just take a little bit of a break. When I came back to it with a little bit more of an open mind, I was able to get more into it. And as we met the side characters, I really started to fall in love with them. So it was definitely a book that at the very beginning, I was thinking, am I even gonna like how dark this is? Usually I do enjoy creepy things, and especially in fantasy, the darker the better. It was just, for some reason, it really threw me off. Maybe I'm just a little too naive, or maybe I just don't actually like dark things as much as I thought that I did, but it kind of threw me off. So I don't really know what to take from that, but that's what happened when I read All the Stars and Teeth. The second book on this list is You by Carolyn Kepnes. So I'm sure that many of you have actually watched You on Netflix, and I have not. I don't know why I haven't. I read the book and I enjoyed the book, so I guess I just haven't thought to watch it on Netflix. But many of you know it's a very, very creepy story. I'm not sure how the book is different than the TV show, but let me tell you, the first time I sat down to read this book, oh my goodness. I was a junior in high school, and for anyone who has read it, I just want to read the first couple of lines to you, and I know it's a little weird, and just keep in mind how I look, and keep in mind that I was 17. You walk into the bookstore and you keep your hand on the door to make sure it doesn't slam. You smile, embarrassed to be a nice girl, and your nails are bare and your V-neck sweater is beige and it's impossible to know if you're wearing a bra, but I don't think you are. You're so clean that you're dirty, and you murmur your first word to me, hello, when most people would just pass by, but not you and your loose pink jeans, a pink spun from Charlotte's Web. And where did you come from? Talking in the second person is creepy in itself, but let me tell you about Beck, who is the woman that he is talking to. She is blonde, an aspiring writer, all sorts of things that at 17 I was like, oh my God, he's looking at me. And I freaked out and could not read the book for another 6 months. So I really, really disliked reading the first part because it was so creepy and just felt like everything was, looking at me, and it was crazy. Anyway, so once I finally got past my fear of Joe, who is our main character, I finally was able to not feel like he was actually talking to me, and I feel like there are many people who did experience that too. And maybe it was just because I'm blonde and an aspiring author too, that I got a little freaked out. But anyway, that is why I did not particularly like You to begin with. But once I got into it, it's a very creepy book, but it's very good too. It was great writing. The third book on this list is The Stand by Stephen King. So this is the very first Stephen King book that I've read. It's also the only one I've read so far. I have a couple here on my shelves to read soon. I've had The Stand in my collection for a couple of years, and I decided to read it back in April because of COVID-19. And I saw on Twitter that Stephen King had written somewhere, no, COVID-19 is not The Stand. And it was just a big old thing that I thought was interesting, that people were actually thinking that it was. Maybe they weren't, maybe it was just a joke. So I decided to pick it up and read it. And so I have the extended version. It's about 1,400 pages long. So it's a long book. And let me tell you, I thought that the first 400 pages were not super relevant. So the first 400 pages are kind of a drag in the long term. I think that the last 1,000 pages are very interesting, and I could get into it and understand what was going on. And in the first 400 pages, other than like the prologue, which is really important, I thought that we could have skipped pretty much everything. You get a bit of a background on the characters, but I thought that we could have put them in somewhere else and still understood who they were. With the exception of, I loved all of the chapters with Franny. Franny was definitely my favorite character, and I thought that learning more about her was really interesting, but with the characters I couldn't quite connect with on a different level, other than, you know, I did like Larry, and I did like them by the end, but in that first 400 pages, I did not like anyone except for Franny. So that was a big turnoff for me, but other than that, I thought that this was a great read, and especially it was interesting reading it during these times. It wasn't actually too scary, which is what I was expecting. Of course, I'm planning on reading The Shining soon, which I know is a lot scarier, so I thought this was a good one to start with. I thought it was a good book, even though the beginning was slow. The last book I wanted to talk to you guys about is Spellbook of the Lost and Found by Moira Fowley Doyle. So I first read The Accident Season by this author, and I really enjoyed it. So I was really looking forward to this one. And before I get into why I didn't like it to begin with, I want to say that I like this book better than The Accident Season. I thought it was such a great read by the end of the book. Now let me tell you why I didn't like it to begin with. So we have 3 points of view, and I really, really hated the third point of view. So there are 3 points of view. There's Olive, Hazel, and Laurel. Now Olive and Hazel I was fine with. I did enjoy having multiple perspectives in that part. I've been pretty stingy about multiple perspectives, and I think I've told you guys that before when I was considering making mine multiple perspectives. Sometimes I think it's hit or miss for me. But with this one, I was okay with Olive and Hazel. It was Laurel's point of view that was driving me crazy. So for anyone who has not read this book, Hazel and Olive are normal girls noticing that things are happening. And Laurel actually has the spell book, and with her friends, seeing things happen in a different perspective. Instead of having things being lost, they're finding things. And you see it happening, and it makes you think that it's in present time. Now, I don't want to give too many spoilers about this book, but Laurel is a big plot twist that I was not expecting. Laurel was driving me absolutely bonkers for so long that I was just like complaining to my family, oh my God, this book is crazy. I don't like it. I was just so upset that I couldn't figure out who this third person was. And I don't know why it made me so angry, because I'm usually not an angry person, especially with books. And so I was just really driven crazy by it. But once I got to the end and figured out who Laurel was, I was so happy with how it was that it actually inspired me to set up my own book this way. That is what made me think that Double Vision could use multiple perspectives, and then that is what inspired the third perspective of my character Ingrid. So I think that I definitely got a lot of inspiration from this book, and I thought it was such a great read. So even though I really disliked it to begin with, it wasn't that I disliked anything, other than this third point of view that I didn't understand the point of it because it was so confusing to me that I was thinking, what is even the point of learning about Laurel? What's the point? I don't like her. No one knows who Laurel is. I'm just so frustrated. Because of that, I really didn't like it. Other than that, especially by the end of the book, I really, really love this book. So I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to read a fantasy, kind of a creepy thing. There's some romance in it too. Definitely not a sweet romance. There's a lot more graphic things in it. But I think that in certain young adult books that's definitely an okay aspect. So Spellbook of the Lost and Found would be my number one. I first disliked it and then I loved it book. So that's all for today's video. I just thought it would be really interesting to go over what these books are that, since I don't consider myself a picky book person, what books didn't I like to begin with. So let me know if you guys like this video. You can leave a like and let's chat in the comments. My question of the day is, what books did you have a hard time getting into? Are there any books that you disliked to begin with and then ended up liking later on? What turns you off at the beginning of a book that makes you dislike it? Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.